What's up, Finstock Nation? What's up, Dolphin Nation? Two key Miami Dolphins injured and out for a while. So this picture has already gotten worse for the Miami Dolphins as two players are gone for a while, and both of them might end up on the injured reserve list, which if they do end up on the injured reserve list, they'll be out 4 weeks. And I'm talking about James Daniels, offensive lineman James Daniels, and Storm Duck. We're first going to listen to the Mike McDaniel presser yesterday, and he has some updates, and I'll react to his press conference. Then I'll read you an article from the Sun Sentinel speaking about James Daniels and Storm Duck, and another roster move that was made earlier today as the Dolphins picked up a first-round pick, offensive lineman, from a former rival, and he came off the Cleveland Browns practice squad, but he was originally selected in the first round by a former rival, and I'll pop up the tweet for you guys to see who it is. But first, let's listen to the McDaniel presser.
Mike, do you have any update on whether James Daniels and Storm Duck will be out long term?
It looks with James, it's not season ending. It's not. He won't be available this week. It looks to be a couple weeks, and we're evaluating the timeline and if there's any roster management with that. But right now, as we know, it will be a couple weeks.
And Storm Duck?
Storm Duck will also be a couple weeks.
And how about Austin Jackson?
Still finding out some more information on him, and in regards to his toe.
And then Benito Jones?
It looks like Benito's in a week-to-week category. I wouldn't rule him totally out for this game, but I wouldn't rule him in either. We'll see how time progresses.
And is there anyone in concussion protocol after yesterday?
No, there's not.
Not getting to the run game was the biggest factor in that. The turnovers, time of possession, and also the big lead that the Colts took.
Well, no, I think the biggest issue was that 4 out of the first 5 drives were turnovers, and 24 points came off those turnovers. So, in situations like that, it is. And in those situations, if you're, not only failing in one phase but in multiple phases, and then you're not getting off the field, you're not going to have any plays. We had like 48 plays, so it was tough to get any sort of balance of anything based on didn't earn more.
There was a stat highlighted by Daniel Austin that it's now 1 full calendar year since Tyreek Hill's last 30-yard reception down the field. I guess my question is how?
Well, there's he hasn't caught a 30-yard reception for a multitude of reasons. One, this last game, there was probably 3 different opportunities that the opportunity was taken away from him by his teammates' lack of execution on their non-ball assignments. So there's a litany of things, compounding variables when you're talking about something like that, and specifically with yesterday, I'm not sure for the entire whole season if I'd want to say it was the same thing, but for this past game, it was definitely that. The opportunities were there. No one saw the throw and the catch because it didn't exist because of a teammate.
Mike, it's easy for us to point out a lot of the bad things that happened. What were some of the good things that you saw happen either individually or by unit yesterday?
I think to be honest, like there's I think the positive is that that was a miserable experience. It was embarrassing, flat out. And in that, there's nowhere to hide. It's almost, within the game, it's almost good that that it wasn't reachable, that we were -4, because there's, as a team, we have to, I was really looking forward to seeing the stuff that we've really worked on diligently, and I didn't see any of it, and that's a problem. So it's also, teams, usually it's not week one off of a blowout, but teams generally have a lesson that you have to learn, particularly as you go through the season and get into the final stretch of how to prepare and apply your position specific non-negotiables in a game. And you generally learn that lesson the hard way when you don't do it correctly. And there's a lot of times that, I don't want to misconstrue it. One of the reasons, it was tough to get punched in the mouth like that was because it was not a result of lack of intent. There's a lot of guys out there trying to make plays on a all things equal. That's not necessarily a bad, villainous thing to desire. However, when your mind isn't focused on your exact responsibilities as it relates to your teammates, and when you're not playing, in all three phases, you're not playing collective team football where you are doing your job and then one or two players on the field get to make the play. There's a cost. So it was I think we watched 93 out of the 136 plays as a team today, and that is not fun. Yesterday wasn't fun, but the point is that that you have to learn, and the NFL is a league of development and growth, and teams start out do it. First 4 weeks is generally wild because people are figuring out who they are. On paper who you think you're going to be, but in actual execution, who you are, and then molding themselves to that. And you have to continue to get better. I would say the good news and the positive is I don't see how it could be worse. And I also believe in the coaches and players to get it fixed, because it wasn't, it's just a shame. It's you work behind the scenes for months on end and you don't show any of it. It's frustrating, but that can be a good thing. And that's what I saw from the positive. I also, you could tell, as frustrating as it was, the team didn't splinter and the effort still remained. There's things there, but overall, I'm not trying to, paint a glossy. I'll call it what it is. It wasn't, embarrassing. Not anything that paying fans sign up for.
Was it mostly mental or physical?
I would say it was the mental focus on what the physical is. There was no lack of physicality. I'll give an example. All right, so there was probably, every starter on the tape that I was pointing out. But just so you guys, it's not I don't make a habit of putting family business and just, out at the podium. But for example's sake, there was one play that ultimately led to being an explosive that the utmost dependable player, Zach Sealer, in an attempt to get a sack at the final stage of pass rush, kind of voids his pass rush lane. Well-intentioned, trying to make a play, but the dropping of rush lanes allows for an explosive that you have to learn how to, with new teammates, play with them and lean on them and trust them. So we have a very close team that I think was caught by surprise, and I think that's because their play wasn't as close as on game day as one would like. So back on the grind. Sole focus is on fixing that and nothing else, because if we're going to work diligently at our craft and technique and fundamentals, we should actually use it in games. I think that's important.
How did you evaluate Keon Smith's play, and will you continue to roll with him at right guard in another couple of games?
I think he.
All right, guys, I'm not going to play his whole press conference, but there you go. There's his thoughts, some of his thoughts from the game, and the updates on the injury. But I'm going to go ahead and now read to you the article from the Sun Sentinel on a quick update of Storm Duck and James Daniels. And this was written by David Furonis of Sun Sentinel. Miami Dolphins starters who were injured in Sunday's loss to the Indianapolis Colts, right guard James Daniels and cornerback Storm Duck, will miss additional time with their respective injuries. Daniels hurt his right pectoral muscle on the Dolphins' third offensive play at Lucas Oil Stadium and did not return. It's not season-ending, Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel said Monday. He won't be available this week. It will be a couple weeks. We're evaluating the timeline, and if there's any roster management, there'll be one. The couple of weeks would have Daniels miss next Sunday's home opener against the New England Patriots, and then the quick turnaround for the following Thursday night, September 18th, at the Buffalo Bills. The roster management portion of McDaniel's assessment means a potential injured reserve stint could be in play for Daniels, who would have to miss at least 4 games if placed on IR. Daniels entered Sunday questionable with an ankle ailment sustained during the week of practice before injuring the chest muscle. He was signed by the Dolphins in free agency this offseason despite rehabbing a torn Achilles. On the opposite, suffered 4 weeks into the 2024 campaign with the with the Patriots leaders, With Daniels out, the Dolphins had Keon Smith sub in at right guard for the rest of the game. McDaniel said Smith played well, but left ample room for improvement. He had bodies land on his left leg while making a tackle in the first half of Sunday, putting his ankle in a compromising position. He was talking about Storm Duck there. Veteran quarterback Rasul Douglas, who was signed with the Dolphins 2 weeks ago, filled in and played well, nearly intercepting one pass that went for pass breakup. Duck entered the 2025 season set for a key role as a starting cornerback in his second season after making the team as an undrafted rookie last year. Dolphins right tackle Austin Jackson aggravated a toe injury that kept him out much of training camp late in Sunday's game. McDaniel said the team still needs more time to evaluate the toe. Backup tackle Larry Broom entered for Jackson for the final 10 snaps Sunday. Smith and Broom could form the Dolphins' starting right side of the offensive line in Week 2 against the Patriots. Nose tackle Benito Jones is week-to-week category, McDaniel said after the hefty defensive lineman tweaked an oblique Sunday. I wouldn't rule him totally out for this game, but I wouldn't rule him in either, the Dolphins coach said. The Dolphins player landed on concussion protocol Monday as a residual of Sunday's action. And no Dolphins player landed on concussion protocol Monday. This alleviates any concern of potential day after symptoms for quarterback Tua Tagovailoa after he took a few hard hits against the Colts following the December 25th, 2022 loss against the Green Bay Packers. Tua finished the game, but was placed in concussion protocol the next day. Tight end Aaron Waller is trying to debut with his team for either of the next two games. Sunday against the Pats or September 18th at the Bills after a hip strain kept him out of Sunday's game, but was not enough to place him on injured reserve. Longtime defensive cornerback Xavier Howard, who is now with the Colts, left his former quarterback in Miami with a parting shot Monday after his new team's convincing victory. Howard didn't hold back in the assessment of the Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and why the Colts were successful, forcing him into turnovers week one. We knew, said Howard. According to ESPN, he gets the ball out pretty quick, and once we take away the first read, I feel like he panics after that, and it showed Sunday. Tagovailoa threw 2 interceptions and lost a fumble, which was recovered by Howard in the 33-8 loss. McDaniel understands the fans' frustration raining down on the team after the embarrassing opener. They like us, don't think that's acceptable, McDaniel said. Fans want to win, and when you don't, they don't like it. The Dolphins coach wants to do right by the fan base. Understanding some go back to watching the back-to-back Super Bowl champion teams in the early 1970s, and many have experienced the totality of the franchise's 25-year drought without a playoff win. My job is to focus on getting stuff right, McDaniel said. We have to improve from the last performance, but we have to improve in general, like every other team, or you get left in the dust. I think the biggest thing is, regardless of what they say, I know certainty that the Dolphin fans want to see the Dolphins do well and win football games. All four Dolphins marquee pass rushers, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, and Matthew Judon played between 45 to 55% of the defensive snaps against the Colts. Starters Chubb and Phillips on the high end of the threshold. At quarterback, Jack Jones played every snap on one side, and the other, Doug played the first 29, and Douglas took the final 44. He made his exit. Rookie Jason Marshall played 37 snaps as the team's nickel cornerback in his first NFL game. Along with Marshall, fellow rookie defensive tackles Kenneth Grant, 44, Jordan Phillips, 33, safety Dante Trader Jr., 22, saw significant action defensively Sunday. Although linebacker Willie Gay Jr. stood out during camp, he only played on special teams Sunday, with Jordan Brooks and Tyler Dodson taking up all the inside linebacker work. Guys, just like my other favorite team, the Florida Gators, and Billy Napier have to prove it. McDaniel and staff have to prove that this team is really good. I don't expect anything major from this team, but they need to shock me. That's all I can say. Leave your comments down below. And like always, I'll always be a Dolphin fan. But like always, stay positive, stay on your grind, and go Dolphins.